Hey guys, in this video we're taking a disgusting muddy black truck and we're doing just a regular detail on it, and I'm going to show you guys from start to finish my exact process and how I take this thing from muddy to clean again. So let's go ahead and check out the before. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the before. You guys can see that this truck is covered in mud and it's black, so this is going to be an awesome subject for this video. Not only are the wheels and tires covered in mud, but everything from like the rocker panels to even up top on the truck. This guy went mudding and let it dry on the car. But lucky for me, the mud hasn't been sitting on the truck for too long, so it's not going to be crazy to try to get off. But I just want to give you guys a good picture of what this looks like before we get into it, because this is like your classic example of a farm truck. So check out the different parts of this truck. So if you guys have been watching my videos at all, you know I always start in the bed. The reason that I start in the bed, which by the way, very simply, I'm just going to be pressure washing it and using some powerful degreaser to loosen up any of that mud or dirt that's really stuck on there. So it's a pretty straightforward process. But the reason I start in the bed is just because I'm going to get overspray everywhere else on the truck as I'm working here. And so I try to think about it detailing. I try to go from general to detailed. And so if I know I'm going to be doing something that's going to get a ton of overspray on the rest of the car, or maybe even some light water spots because I'm not using deionized water, I want to take care of that before I start taking care of the more detailed things like the actual paint itself. So I call it like the funnel method, but I look at it from going real general to real specific. And so the more kind of tightly you can dial in that process, the easier your detailing is going to be. I'll also say that when you're detailing the bed of a truck, a lot of times you're not going to be able to clean it to 100% perfection because there's just some stains in the bed liner from certain things sitting there, even rusting sometimes. I've had rust sit on bed liners, and that's really difficult to get up. So if you can't get up everything, I wouldn't be too hard on yourself, because there is a difference between detailing and fixing, right? It's not my job to correct something that's damaged. It's my job to detail and clean at a really high level. So after the bed, I'm going to move to the wheel wells, tires, and wheels, and you guys are going to get to see this whole process on every single one of the tires. But just to give you guys some insight, the first thing I'm going to do is always knock off the majority of the mud that's in the wheel wells. I'll also say this is a fabric wheel well. It's like carpeted inside, I guess, maybe you could say. And basically that's like a felt that a lot of these manufacturers put on the inside of wheel wells to kind of deaden the noise of rocks kicking up and things like that, and they can be really difficult to clean, so a pressure washer comes in really, really handy at a time like this. But very first thing I'm going to do, just like I said, if I'm thinking of it like a funnel method, if I go from real general to real specific, I want to make sure I knock off all of the mud and that surface dirt off before I put any chemicals on there and muddy things up. So when I do that, I'm going to take my degreaser, spread it all over the tire and the wheel well, and really, really get it in the wheel well, because it's going to make the cleaning of that fabric way easier. And then I'm going to take my drill brushes, my Wilson Auto Detailing drill brushes, and I'm going to use the red stiff one to get in between the treaded pieces of the tire with these big trucks, in between those kind of the threads almost of the tread. It's difficult to clean that without some of these tools, and so this just makes my job really easy. Not only is it going to peel off all of that kind of stuck on surface dirt that's difficult to get off of the tire, that grime that looks like it's just kind of like a stain almost, but it also gets me in those details of the tire. So the treaded pieces, the kind of lettering that's on the tire, makes it way easier. You'll also see that when I blast my pressure washer in the wheel well after I coated it in a bunch of degreaser, that degreaser spreads really well when I'm using the pressure washer, so it gets in every piece of the fabric on every part of the wheel well. And then I can kind of just take my pressure washer in kind of a detailed way and make sure that I'm peeling off all of that mud, dirt, and anything left over there, but it does take some time. So one of the things that I'm sure I'm going to get eventually, probably here soon, is you can kind of get different angled nozzles for your pressure washer that will make it easier to reach around inside of that wheel well, so that would probably be a good idea as well. Now I'm going to move to the wheel next. And I'm using my Speedmaster brush, and I'm going to be using some Work Stuff detail brushes. All of this stuff I'll hook up in the YouTube description box below. But I'm using this German wheel cleaner. I can't even tell you what it's called, but it foams up really nicely. And I'll hook up some of my classic wheel cleaners in the description box below as well. But this one just works really, really well. And this is another area where it kind of just takes some time to get in between all the spokes of the wheel and in that inner barrel as well. But because the mud is really not stuck on the wheel as much as maybe brake dust is, this actually isn't that difficult. I like to use a detail brush on the face of the wheel that has a bit shorter bristles because I can clean a bit more aggressively, and it's easier to work with when I'm trying to hit a certain area. When you get those long bristles, it's just kind of hard to, what would I say, clean aggressively, I guess, because the longer the bristle, obviously, the less aggressive it's going to clean. It'll kind of just move around that cleaner, and there's some, of course, you can make an argument of getting longer bristles to get in the lug nuts and things like that, but in this particular case, I do like those shorter bristles to clean, but I did just pull out a long bristle as well to just kind of hit those areas that are difficult to reach. I'm going to rinse it and then basically repeat that process on all 4 of the wheels, but in between the tires, wheel wells, and wheel cleaning, I am going to address these lower kind of rocker panels of the truck, as well as, this part that you step up onto to get inside of the truck, because all of that is caked in mud, and it's easy to just hit those areas as I move from tire to tire, from wheel to wheel. So I'm going to do the same exact thing, take my pressure washer, knock off all the major mud pieces, take my degreaser, make sure I'm soaking everything, letting it sit for a second, making it really easy to peel off with the pressure washer, and repeat that on the other side as well. This is just an easy way to get the mud off in between doing the tires, rather than making a whole nother step to doing this. I can just do it while I'm working on this area of the car anyway, because it's going to be easy to peel off. I am using a detail brush here from Work Stuff just to agitate the cleaner. I will say in some cases, even in this case, it probably would have been a little bit easier to use kind of in a more aggressive brush, or even like a wheel brush that is kind of feathered on the end. It's a bit easier to maneuver, and you can probably cover more surface area at a time, but I just had my detail brushes out, and that's kind of why I pulled those out to agitate the cleaner in this area. One important thing here is you're going to have to clean on the underside of all of this as well, as you can see me doing with the pressure washer, because that's going to be kind of where the hidden mud is, and if you don't clean there, that's not going anywhere unless you take it off. And so even getting an undercarriage cleaner, which is something I'll probably show in some future videos, that would be a really useful tool here as well, but just not something I have at the moment. So this is what the rest of that cleaning looks like. Now I'm going to move on to the bugs and the front of the car next. I'm going to explain to you guys how I do this because it is a bit different than some other guys. Obviously, I want to be careful with the pressure washer so as to not maybe hit a rock-chipped place and peel more paint off the front. But I'm going to be taking my degreaser and I'm going to be spraying it specifically on the black trim pieces. Every grille and every front of a car or a truck is going to be different. Of course, if you've been detailing, you know how many different materials are going to be on the front. But I'm going to use the degreaser to clean the trim pieces specifically, and I'm using these Work Stuff detail brushes, long hair and short hair bristles, because I'm going to need both in order to attack all the different kind of cracks and crevices and areas that you see here. I mean, I am cleaning a little bit of the paint, but I think it's important to note that I am kind of reserving the degreaser to clean the black trim because that's where it works best in this situation. Obviously, the chrome is attached, and so there's going to be a few other things and materials that I'm touching as well, but the reason why I'm emphasizing that is because after I wash this off and clean the black trim with the degreaser, I am going to move to a Renegade all-purpose cleaner to cleaning the black paint. The reason I do that is because when you have high alkaline degreasers or even all-purpose cleaners and you're cleaning maybe a black truck like this, particularly darker colored cars, and I've kind of mentioned this in some other videos, it can more or less not eat into the paint but almost stain the clear coat, and you'd have to polish it to get it off. You find these dripping marks and these kind of streaking marks on that black paint, particularly if it hasn't been kept up with and if it's kind of oxidized. That happens really, really easily. So I take the Renegade all-purpose cleaner and clean the painted pieces with it, like you can see here, because not only does it foam and suds up really well, but it's not going to leave those streaks. I've used it a lot on darker colored cars just like this, and it just isn't going to cause those streaks, and it's just kind of peace of mind for me, and it's also a really powerful cleaner. Hey, baby. What you doing? So now it's time to doing a little pre-wash method here. I'm using a Jack's Wax Foam Canon soap. I just have this one on hand and I've been really liking it. It does a really good job. This is AM Details Bubbles car soap. That's what I'm going to be using for my agitation wash. Got my 2 buckets with grit guards, and I'm using my pressure washer just to make those suds kind of push up in the bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse off all the paint real fast. You can see I'm in the shade. I do suggest doing this in the shade if you're not using deionized water like I don't. So there are ways around it, but this is just kind of one of the strategies. It's warming up here in Nashville, Tennessee now, and so water spots are now something that I'm kind of having to worry about. But luckily at my garage here, because of the way the house is positioned and the way the sun moves, it's pretty much in the shade all day long. So I kind of made this foam pre-rinse, pre-wash part in real time because I wanted you guys to see how foamy that Jack's Wax Canon soap is. It really does a great job. So anyway, I'm going to go around the whole car, pre-wash it, pre-foam it, rinse it off, and then I'm going to be moving to my agitation wash, and I'm using what am I using in my agitation wash? I'll be using a a wash mitt that's a wash pad, so it's not one you can like put your hand in. I prefer using those wash pads because they're a bit smaller and easier to work with and just more manageable. I don't have water and soap dripping down my arm the whole time I'm working, but anyway, that being said, the AM Details Bubble Soap also is a great product to use when you're doing an agitation wash. It suds up really nicely, and I really like it in conjunction with their AM Details Foam Soap as well, which I don't have any, so that's why I didn't use it here. But it just lays really flat on the paint and does a fantastic job. So I know I'm talking really fast, but I'm just trying to put a lot of information in here because these videos make a great kind of opportunity to put a lot of information in here. So all that being said, the agitation wash is going to be really straightforward. I'm just working from top to bottom, rinsing in between with my 2 buckets because this is a really dirty truck, and so I want to be mindful of that as I'm doing it and making sure that I'm kind of washing my mitt in between. So that is what this looks like. Now, after I'm done washing everything, I'm going to take my big drying twisted loop towel and clean or dry the rest of the car off before I start claying it. The reason why I dried it before I started claying it, because like in the wintertime, I would normally just leave the water on and go ahead and start claying it using whatever clay lubricant that I'm using, which in this situation, I'm using a waterless wash from Renegade, which of course, again, I'll hook up all that stuff below, as well as the clay bar that I'm using here. It's just a light, sort of fine clay bar. Very, very simple and straightforward. This car didn't have a ton of like embedded contaminants, but the reason why I dried it off is because now that it's warming up in Nashville, it's a lot easier to get a ton of water spots, and so I'm just trying to eliminate that as much as possible, because more water spots I get, it's not that I can't fix them, it's just like I don't want to go over my work any more than I have to. So I'm going to go ahead and dry the water off before I start using that clay lube, which is not going to leave any water spots, and that's just going to make my life a whole lot easier. So clay barring is really not that interesting to watch. So that's pretty much what it looks like. After that, I am going to take care of the tires. And so you guys know I'm using one of my new favorite products, which is from Renegade. It is their vinyl and rubber. I can't even remember what the title of it. Vinyl rubber coating or protection. I actually am going to do a product of the week video about this product in particular, because this is a water-based dressing. And in this video, I'm using it all over the tires, all over the trim, all over everything. Spraying it on, letting it drip dry and seep into the surface, and walking away. I used this product on a car a while back that I posted a video on, and you guys got to see the updated trim pieces like a few days later, and it just does a great job. But the reason I did the tires before I'm going to start applying this Gloss Sol sort of Carnauba synthetic blend wax is because when you're spraying something like that, oftentimes you'll get overspray on the paint. So rather than applying the protection and then applying the tire protection, I want to apply the tire protection and then go over the paint with my Rupes polisher, applying this wax to it, because if there is any overspray from that water-based dressing, it's going to be wiped off with the application of this sealant. And so that's kind of my logic there. I would do the same thing with an aerosol can dressing. If you don't, you get these kind of freckled, sort of like speckled patterns on the paint, and so I would just try to avoid that at all costs. So again, it's like sequence is everything, but you guys can see as I'm applying it with my Rupes, I'm going super fast because this has no correction, no abrasives in it whatsoever. This is just a way to apply it quickly and kind of bring out that shine. A lot of times when you machine apply it, it does a really good job. This particular product from Lithium, the Gloss Sauce, does a great job when you apply it by machine. So that's kind of why I'm doing that. After I do that over all of the paint, I'm going to address all the other trim pieces with the same vinyl rubber protection from Renegade. I'm just going to spray it on my towel first and apply it that way. So I'm going to hit all the trim pieces that I wouldn't just spray the coating on. I'm going to take care of the wheels as well with some just regular detail ceramic spray to get any overspray off of those. But after the wheels, I am going to address the trim pieces. So the trim pieces that I'm going to hit where I apply it to my microfiber and then apply it to the trim are going to be obvious. So it's going to be those fender well pieces, the pieces underneath the trunk or underneath the bed in the back, or what am I trying to say? The tailgate, underneath the tailgate in the back, and then on these runners as well. This coating really is not slippery or anything like that, and again, it's water-based, and so this is just such a great product to spray on, walk away. This truck is going to be sitting here for quite a while after I'm done, so it's going to have plenty of time to seep into those surfaces, but it just restores that awesome black look, and it's so easy to apply. But again, in these areas right here, I don't want to be, what would you say? I don't want to be spraying it just right on the truck because it's going to get all over the paint and all that sort of stuff. So that's why I'm applying it this way, but this is what it looks like. that's it. That's the whole process when I'm dealing with a black truck here that's really, really muddy. If you did like this video and you're new to the Wilson Auto Detailing community, then hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. And if you guys are wondering about any of the tools or products that I used in this video, I'm gonna hook up Amazon links below. There'll be an organized list. You can see all the things that were in this video for you guys if you're interested in buying them for yourself. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. And from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, keep working hard, and I'll see you guys in the next video.